Time now for our Rants and Raves of the week, and starting with you, Dan.
Well, I have a rant for the Obama White House and Attorney General Eric Holder for pushing the idea that Boston College should turn over the Belfast tapes, this oral history that had been done with people involved in the troubles in Northern Ireland for going back decades. You know, under the Constitution, they had every right to push for this material, but just as with the Obama White House's war on journalism, this ends up being a war on academic inquiry, because people are not going to participate in these really important projects aimed at getting out the truth if they think that they're going to be exposed when the government comes shopping for this information. And now, of course, Jerry Adams, one of the leader of Sinn Féin, is in custody. It's unclear whether he's actually being charged with one of these horrific killings or not. But this was just a bad move. This was just something that the White House could have done and should have chosen not to do.
And, of course, there's some debate over whether Boston College should have cooperated with the subpoena, too. We'll be talking about that Monday. All right, Callie.
I have a rave for Emerson students. Journalism students, or those interested in journalism, have put up a website called All Things Eastie, in which they are reporting in a very serious way. Look at this story. This is about land regulation and waterfront development. Did an excellent job. I mean, they're really doing, you know, it's not a kind of a moose in the well stories. They're really, you know, buckling down and doing the work. Because that's just, they were interested in that, and hey, why not Eastie? You know, I'm a big fan of those local newspapers, those local outlets, so I think this is great.
So is it part of a class, or is it all on their own?
Appears to be all on their own. I don't know that answer. I don't have that answer. I'll find out, you know.
Great. All right, let's see, Josh.
This is a rant, it's sort of a note of concern as much as anything else. There was some new traffic data that came out today on web traffic that showed just what a difficult transition the newspaper business is having. Of all web traffic, only about 0.9% of traffic on your laptop or your desktop is to a newspaper's website. On your phone, it's only 0.2%. So think of all the difficulties that newspapers have had transitioning to the web and to digital. It's as little progress as they've made there, they're a fraction of the way on mobile devices, which are growing and exploding. At the same time that it seems that a lot of news organizations bet on tablets as the place that people are going to be getting their news, and it seems pretty clear from some numbers that we've seen the last few weeks that smartphones are winning out, and newspapers are in a really tough position.
That's a great
not even
number.
with apps.
It's very
not
grim.
even with apps. Apps not doing anything.
No.
I find that shocking. I mean, that's one of the only things that I go to on my.
Yeah, me too.
Same.
I just think that it would, in the apps thing, you know.
It turns out people like playing games and like doing lots of other things on their phones, much more than they do.
All right, Adam, what do you got?
I got a rant for the newspaper, The Oklahoman, which recently stepped in it by uttering some negative words about Kevin Durant, who is the star player for the Oklahoma City Thunder, probably one of the two best basketball players. I shouldn't say probably, one of the two best basketball players on the planet right now. And just to give you a sense of what Kevin Durant is capable of, I'm thinking of you here, Callie.
Yes,
Let's take a look at the sort of thing he can do in a game.
Okay.
All night, a quick 6-0 run. Allen got a piece of that one. Almost out of bounds somehow. Durant lets it go.
So there you see him hitting a three-pointer in the closing seconds of a playoff game as he's basically horizontal. No one in the NBA can hit the shot. He's been doing this sort of thing all season long. He probably will be the NBA's MVP in a few weeks. All that said, the Thunder are in a tough first-round playoff series with the Memphis Grizzlies right now. Durant has had his moments where he's struggled, and so the Oklahoman hit him with a headline calling him Mr. Unreliable.
What?
Extremely harsh, especially given how good he's been, how he's carried this franchise over the past several years. Almost immediately, to the paper's credit, they backed off, saying, we did the wrong thing here. We tried too hard to be provocative. This headline was we overstated it. They didn't try to say it was a joke. They just said they screwed up, and there is no question they did. I'm all for sports reporting that is tough, but this was just gratuitous, and it was wrong.
What I don't understand about that is they had to know what they were stepping into.
Yeah.
So having stepped into it like that, with knowledge or forethought, why back off?
Well, there's always the question, right, of what editor made the call, who ranks above them. them the next morning said, what in God's name were you thinking about? So I don't know why they made the call in the first place, but they had to back off.
There's a reason why CJR about 10 years ago did a story out calling the Oklahoman America's worst newspaper. It's been a terrible newspaper for many, many years.
I thought
I won't
that,
be
and
reading
I couldn't
it.
remember.
That's Columbia Journalism
All right, well, I
Review,
have a
for people who
rant
don't know what that is.
that's kind of just in general, right across the board. And that is for this gratuitous overuse of the phrase exclusive. It's gotten to the point where it only means in the moment. It doesn't mean anything that we're the only or the first or original. It just means that right now I'm talking to Dan Kennedy. It has nothing to do with exclusivity. And there are some people pushing back on that. The same thing goes for breaking news. If you've been watching CNN all these last 9 weeks over the Malaysian airplane crash, it says exclusive. It says, excuse me, breaking news over every single thing. There is no breaking news occurring with that story, and yet that's what the slug says right now as we speak.
The most story was exclusive.
That actually was.
I just want to make that point.
It was a good story, actually.